All right, good morning, everybody. We are gathered here today for the Tuesday, April 23rd session of the Board of Commissioners. All commissioners are present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up is comments for items that are not on the agenda. We could take you guys right now if you'd like.
Okay,
Yeah, I was going to put you as an add-on, but we can take you right now. I won't limit you exactly to 3 minutes. Introduce yourself, name, rank, serial number. So. Oh.
Morning, I'm Derek Godwin. I work for Oregon State University's Extension Service, based on the campus, but worked quite a few years here in Polk County, both administrator as well as watershed management position. And I'm here today with Kevin Porter.
You guys can leave that right in the middle if you'd like. It'll pick you up.
The Polk Soil and Water Conservation. So we're here requesting a letter of support for a grant to OWEB, Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, that the Polk Soil and Water Conservation District is submitting. And it's for technical assistance. It's to essentially hire an engineering firm that is familiar with river engineering projects. So the situation here is one that you guys are sure you're aware of. So in Salt Creek watershed is where we're focused. Salt Creek in the area that is just north of Highway 22. So that area is Salt Creek as well as Hawk Street Slough, and where they both are independent and then joined together. There's a number of roads there, county roads, and the area has experienced flooding quite frequently over the years. And the situation from this, as I've been studying it the last few years, along with the Polk SWCD, looking at water quality and flooding issues and things, it seems like to us, and the landowners have said this, and I'm confirming that it seems to flood more often. And I believe that just based on what folks have told us and what we can see now, that the situation there as far as the stream and the riparian zones and everything there within the natural river channels and floodplains, as well as the infrastructure, things have changed. And whether we say it's different flow patterns or rainfall patterns or not, there's less capacity in the creeks to carry the flow, and then whenever it floods, it's flooding the roads on a more regular basis than they were designed for. And I think I need to check with Todd Whitaker. I think that the bridges, I know one bridge on Van Well has flooded, and I believe the other one has, but I need to check with him on, unless you guys know, but if they were originally designed for a 50-year flood event or a 100-year. But in any case, they're flooding more often. And so it causes infrastructure problems, obviously with maintaining that infrastructure, maintaining drainage, as well as there are folks that live along that area that can't get out in flood events. And then it's also impacting some businesses there, transportation, as well as ability for folks to get in and out. So this has been going on now for several years. I've only been studying it a few. But the main thing that's happened right now is Oregon Department of Environmental Quality has created a total maximum daily limit to a TMDL load for mercury in Willamette. And they're using as a surrogate for mercury suspended sediments. So all of a sudden, suspended sediments are becoming much more regulated in streams than they ever had before. And so agriculture, I'm sure, Polk County, I'm sure all of the various management agencies have been working on plans and trying to address erosion prevention and sediment. So this area all of a sudden is now not just viewed as a private or a government Polk County problem, but also a water quality problem. And there are fish species that use that area, both cutthroat trout and on the map, some juvenile listed salmon. So to summarize here, we think it's the right time to submit a grant to try to get technical assistance to develop a few designs. So it'd be up to 30% design is what's typical. And there'd be a few options that a consultant would work with Polk County as well as the landowners of the SWCD about some options to consider to try to alleviate the situation. We're hoping, kind of in summary here, we're hoping for a win-win-win. You know, we're hoping for some options that will help infrastructure, of course, which will also alleviate the flooding and the sediment and erosion, and then also be beneficial to the landowners as well.
Yeah. All right, so for the record, Derek has submitted to the board, to all of us, a template of language for support. I have crafted that language into letterhead and signature lines. You have seen that language already. So any questions?
Is this area of particular concern? Is this one of many areas of concern? Or if you could talk about kind of the relative impact?
Yeah, so a number of things. I think this is a particular concern, obviously, for the local folks there. And without going into too much on the watershed processes, essentially it's, you know, there's this combination of just kind of natural things that would happen no matter what's going on in this area, in addition to infrastructure, people living there, businesses, farming. So it's obviously a big deal there local. However, I thank you for that question because I think it's a real opportunity here that through some technical assistance that this could represent potential solutions in many other areas. So I don't know about Polk County, but I think a lot of counties in general in the Willamette Valley struggle with roadside maintenance. And so there's roadside maintenance, there's stream maintenance with changes over the years and what folks are allowed to do with permits. There's just so many changes that are all wrapped up, and I think that this at least hits on it. And if nothing else, it could help jumpstart some conversations.
Right. And what do you anticipate, if all goes according to plan, you receive the grant, timeline to kind of mitigating those issues and completion of the project?
So if we can, we're on a pretty tight timeline right now. The grant is due April 29th.
Yeah.
So April 29th. So let's say that all gets in as we plan and it's funded. Decisions would be June, July. So we probably start with consulting and contracts by the fall, if all goes well. And then you usually give them a year to pull together the field work and the studies and designs, up to a year, maybe 6 to 9 months. And so then by next summer, if all goes well, we would be visiting together about some potential options. Right. And then from there, it would obviously, you know, kind of figure out, but you'd still have, let's say you picked one, you'd still have to go through the design process to get it close enough for bidding and things. So unfortunately, it takes time.
Oh yeah, I understand completely.
It's just one of those things. It's unfortunately not going away.
It sounds like a great project. I support the letter for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, I support the letter too. In the region, I witnessed the flooding out there. We've gone out and surveyed some of the floods and seen where it's at. And I'm more for access for the people in case of emergency, not being locked in homes for 10, 12 days or 2 or 3. It varies. But your statement of fish in that trout, is there trout year round in that? Or is this something that was years ago that had history of trout? Is there anything currently today?
Yes, so there are resident cutthroat trout, you know, not listed. So they're typically the smaller ones that move up and down in the system that you find in the small creeks and things. So those are there, not listed, not of potential concern, but whenever we look at water quality concerns in DEQ, oftentimes they're talking aquatic habitat, aquatic health, and they're incorporated. So the other part, as far as listing, the two listed species in the Willamette are the winter steelhead and the spring Chinook. And they don't spawn in the system, but whenever they're juveniles and moving down in the system during the high flows, they're looking for smaller areas to get out. And so ODF and W has listed Salt Creek in this lower portion as areas where they come in. I don't know how far up they do or not, but supposedly it's in there. And then of course there's other fish, but as far as the ones of concern, those are the issues. It's a balance of wanting it to be enough concern to get some funding, but not being too much so that we can have flexibility in how we do this.
So I've been involved in, some of the work that's happening, in studying Salt Creek, but can you both address how many grants have we as a community, as a county, applied for in the study process? And I know these aren't necessarily all linked together, but is this just our second time asking for a grant to do more study work on Salt Creek? Or how far along do you have any idea how many grants have been applied for?
Yeah, that was before my time.
Okay. So there were a few grants early on with the kind of bigger picture of the whole watershed. And then there's been, I'd say, as a partnership here, Extension and SWCD kind of stepped back and we did smaller things. So on the OSU side, I've been doing some work on the water quality within the whole watershed, taking samples and getting a feel from, the growers wanted to know what's going on. We would like to know what's happening from a data perspective so that they can make adjustments. So anyway, so I've been doing that as well as doing some hydrology, so water type studies within the fields. And we do have some measurements out on the stream looking at stage level. So that's been a couple of small ones. I personally have submitted 2 larger federal grants and failed. And the second time had all of this really positive feedback but no funding. So it obviously was a signal that it's just not the right fit. This is the first OWEB project that I'm aware of. And of course, the SWCD, they have a relationship with the Oregon Department of Ag where each biennium they have money to address water quality. So that's part of their scope of work that they've been doing. But really, this is the first design and the first OWEB grant submission. And we hope that, we met recently with a group of growers, over our 20 growers within this area. And there is a lot of interest in pursuing opportunities, as long as they have the flexibility to make decisions on the property that fits with their operations. They have a lot of interest. And so we're hoping that this project and another one with Oregon Department of Ag is a kickoff of having more funding available for people to address erosion, to be the priority, but address water quality within their operations as best they want to. So it's a long answer, few short ones, but I think things are moving ahead finally.
Well, and you plugged in the part about landowner participation, which I think is really quite important. Again, as you and I both know, as we started in these conversations with the local landowners many years ago about studying flows and quality and quantity issues, there was a lot of resistance. And now it's very gratifying to hear that there are more than 20 local landowners that are saying, let's talk some more. So I think that's a very positive thing. So you guys are doing the right thing, going the right direction from my point of view. I say that for the benefit of the record, so that people don't think that we're looking for a way to try and close down waterways. We're looking for ways to actually open them up. and provide better opportunity.
And will this grant favor multiple stakeholder benefit and participation, do you think?
Yes,
Hopefully.
I think so. I mean, certainly within the area, but as we were talking before, I think it's an opportunity depending on how, you know, how you, Polk County and the landowners want to go, you know, I mean, you can keep it as small and private as you want to and targeted, or you can use it as opportunities to have spin-off conversations.
Right.
I think it's, looking forward to Todd and your involvement.
Yeah, and I think some of the key here is to keep enough momentum going and continuing to expand the research in the watershed so that the project that you alone have worked on for Oregon State doesn't just get shelved. And we say, remember when, you know, we actually looked at some stuff. I'm very concerned about this because of the challenges, political challenges of waters of the US, the problems. I mean, I fought hard you know, with Congress and at the EPA for years, trips to DC to establish that counties will be highly impacted. So specific to the issues you're bringing up here about county road management and our ability to be able to do any kind of ditch cleaning, any kind of waterway management along our roads, because it's all waters of the US now and all requires 404 permits. To move anything substantial. So it's a prohibiting factor for the counties to be able to help the landowners, neighbors to manage these waterways. They're crucial for us in Western Oregon. We are quite unique actually across the nation here with our rain challenges, but so everything that we can do that continues to compile data that we can use to hopefully reverse some of this overregulation. I hope, and those are my words, I know they're not yours, I think is a positive step forward. But having cooperation with landowners that have various points of view on this, I think is a positive thing. So all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we'll sign this, ask the team to get a copy so we have one, and then you can have it in you can stay or go.
Keep us posted.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, Joel Plan, Department of Water Resources. Mr. Watermaster, we haven't seen you for a bit.
So, I'm Polk on the Watermaster. I cover the majority of the Yamhill, Polk, and Benton County. Typically, you'll get emails from me during the summer when we're doing regulation. We give you updates. The main stream that I spend most of the time on in Polk County is the Buckner River Basin and River Creek, depending on how that's flowing and who's on and off. In 2023, we did end up regulating the Buckner River Basin, and so it starts down at the pretty much from where it hits the limit up to all the tributaries of it. And that started in mid-August. We did our first cut. There's hundreds of junior users to the priority that we're regulating for. And so when the seniors not met, we're still learning, but we try to just cut enough to get that water there. And so the first cut we did was back to February 4th, 1975. And then we continue to measure, monitor that those people are no longer irrigating. And then if we still don't have enough water, we'll do the next cut, which was January 20th, 1970. And we seem to hold out. If we get any rain, usually regulation, because I look back in the past 5 years, regulation is typically occurring mid-August to early September. That's the window. But if we have any rain in there at all, it significantly bumps up the flow because the basin is so large. And So there's been several years where we dropped below what we needed, but we had rain forecasted in 3 days, and so I was like, all right, this, I'll hold off and see what this rain brings, because the last thing I want to do is send out hundreds of shut off notices, and then we get rain on the next week. I'm like, oh, ignore that, you can turn back on. And there have been years where we get the rain and we're able to turn everybody back on, because we got a significant amount. Other years, we're able just to turn some people back on. And again, it's just going off of priority date. So there's a balancing act there. And then Rickrell Creek, it depends on who's gonna make a senior call, and who's farming what. The last couple of years, one of the senior users wasn't using anything. And so that made a big difference, because we didn't get a call from them and we just had more water. We typically run out of water by Oak Knolls diversion. And it's flashy because there's not much water in Rickrell Creek, so one pump turns off and within an hour you got water flowing again. And we're always out at Greenwood Bridge doing measurements just to have an idea of, what's even coming down the stream system. And then the state, we hired some new staff to focus in on OLCC, ODA hemp grows. And in 2023, Polk County had 36 licensed OLCC grows and 1 ODA hemp grow. And if you compare Polk County to the whole statewide, as far as OLCC license grows, you only have about 2.3% of the total. So really small. And our staff that we have focusing on the Willamette Valley said that the biggest area is Lane County. They're spending a lot of time down there. They have between 18 to 20% of the state. And what the staff are doing now is going out, inspecting the site, talking to the growers, seeing what water source they're using, going over their water rights with them, and making sure that, everything's looks good. And I don't believe they had any raids in this last year, but they've been in contact with the Polk County Sheriff's Office so that if there are future raids, they want to go out on those. That's
Okay, so let's back up for a moment. So you're saying that Department of Ag is the ones who are engaging in field inspections or raids for water use for marijuana grows.
No,
Is that what I heard you say?
no, we have our own assistant
Okay,
who goes out on all of these. So anytime there's a raid, the state's assistant water master goes along with probably Department of Ag.
okay.
And the state water resource department is the one who's going out and inspecting all these sites to make sure they're in compliance with Oregon water.
Mhm. And do you know the stats for compliance for Polk County in these raids?
They had one out of compliance this last year. The rest of them all looked good. They issued the one that I know of, they issued a notice of violation and measuring device notices because they were using a well. But that site stopped growing. They continue to check on it, but there is no longer any activity the last time they checked.
I'm sorry, can you define raid? Is this an inspection?
Like when the sheriff, so if you have an illegal.
An illegal grow, okay. Yeah.
And then
I just wanted to make that,
the
Distinction.
sheriff goes out and they raid the site.
Yep.
And destroy everything. Now we are sending the assistant water master goes in right.
Great.
Within hours of that raid and looks to see, what were they using. So if they were using a well, they're issuing notices of violation for the well, measuring device notices for the well. If it was a stream, it'd be sitting there.
thanks.
And we've had this conversation before, but I just want to make certain that it's on the record. First and foremost, illegal grows have not gone away. They have, I think, have been reduced some over the last few years. And I think that's more of a market attrition issue than it is about what the state agencies are doing. Sorry, no offense, but I think I want to actually allow you to elaborate on things we've talked about before about what you can and cannot do with regard to accessing where their withdrawals are coming from. So you've told me in the past that you don't get to just walk in. If you suspect that they're drawing illegal water, you don't just have right to access their properties. And so I want to make certain that the public hears that again, that, you know, these are challenges that we all have, that these illegal grows aren't applying for permits. They're not actually trying to follow any rules necessarily. And you have a very difficult time, even if you were to see it from the road, to be able to actually look at that or prove it.
We made progress, but now we're gotten more funding of our regulatory side. And we have more staff to grow. It's much easier to issue the funds. Issues and they kind of develop that. But yeah, I never go on somebody's land without permission. I can't just walk out there and go walking around. So if we're denied access from a landowner, then we would have to go and get a warrant and in order to enter the property. So oftentimes we work with neighboring properties and get access to their property, just to try to get a vantage point of what's going on. Or in the case of the creek, the neighbor across the creek will let us go and walk right down to it. So it's a little difficult at times, but we've also built a lot of relationships with them. When I first started doing the regulations, they're kind of like, and you're telling me I can't use water anymore? What is this about? And now, since we are constantly communicating, we're working with them ahead of time to say, okay, where's your high value crop? Let's get your senior water rights moved over to that, so that if you do get regulated, that regulated rights on, grass seed or something that you don't need it on. And so there's a lot more transferring where you're just shuffling your priority dates around and moving it and planning now. And everybody kind of has a priority date in mind and they're looking for the older rights. And you can transfer rights. So example would be up by Hoskins. There's some farms that don't always exercise their right every year, and they're transferring all the way down to Highway 99, and those that farms using it. And so there's just a lot more shuffling to keep track of. But I think we've developed a good relationship with the community, and I don't feel that when we send these notices, hundreds of notices, I feel the compliance is really good. I don't often run into somebody just saying you can't come out here, or I'm going to do whatever I want. I mean, one or two times, yeah, that happens, but the majority, we're working with people to find a solution to it, and we're gaining compliance.
I can attest to that, Joel. When I first started as commissioner and you sent that first email, with some regulations, I was, okay, here it comes. We're gonna get some calls. And I didn't hear anything, which is a testament to your being proactive with property owners. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I try to communicate. I usually don't send you all, I limit how many emails, but when we do measurements or I know regulations coming, I'm sending emails to all the farmers or texting them and saying, hey, this is what we got today. This is what it's looking like, just so that when we do get to regulation, it's not just a surprise. Oh, I got to shut off. Like, where did this come from? Mm-hmm. And with that communication, everybody kind of expect, they kind of know. And it was funny because I had one person who was farming that was kind of acting as my assistant water master. They were calling and saying, well, so-and-so, they're only gonna hit it one more time, and then they're done for the season, and this person, and I was just kind of cracking up. And I was like, yeah, I know that, because they have a junior right, and so they were really worried that they would get cut off. So it's been interesting to make the connections with other people out there.
So how big of an area are you responsible for? What do you have to cover?
Well, the majority of Yamhill, Polk, and Benton County.
And then when you do find somebody out of compliance, what kind of penalties can you apply on them?
It's $1,000 a day and plus department staff time. So, I had one this last summer in Yamhill, and every time I drove up there, we bill them for any department staff time, the vehicle mileage, the vehicle time, and then $1,000 every day. And so I think that was at the end of the season. They were trying to get grass even established, but it ended up being over $8,000, I believe. And prior to that, my knowledge, we weren't really doing the finding. We didn't have the staff and the capability to do all that. But now, yeah, we're good to go. So the first step is just issuing a notice of violation to them and let them know, like you have to stop this immediately. And then if they choose to continue, we can start imposing the fines.
So they have an option to avoid fines.
Yeah.
But that doesn't damage their permit or their right to access for the next season.
Well, they didn't have water right or anything. It was a complete.
Wow.
And they had water rights, they could have stopped. The beat here in the so there's probably 6 people living in that area. And the irrigation started, so I would just say, yeah, text me anytime, and then drive up there and record it and take pictures and keep going.
So to protect a senior water right downstream, if somebody's got a small pond, but they're continued, I know you're allowed to fill your pond on a property one time and then close that gate once it's full. But somebody continue to draw, how do you enforce that or protect that senior guy downstream?
With 2 ways, one, I can take control of your diversion structure, where I typically, I shut pumps off, so I'll kill the power. And we have a notice that we attach to it, that it's under my control. If you mess with it, it's the penalty. And then along with that, the issue with the money. They happen. Years ago, it was more happy to shut it off because we had a reason. Now, really don't have to. I mean, like being communication. What do you find this year? The water rights and states weird, like moose and stuff. I'm just trying to find a solution where they can keep going and it's all good. And they all know what a good priority date is at this point, so.
And you have help in your region? Is it just you or do you have?
So it's me, there's region assistants that help 5 other water masters. And then I hire a temporary assistant during the summer. And that's funded through Polk County, Yamhill County, and Benton County. And that usually goes 3 to 5 months depending. But that's really beneficial because they're constantly just running around doing stream flow measurements. So if you look at how many stream flow measurements we've been getting from 2015 on compared to before, I mean, I don't have the numbers, but it is significant. And we are able to just send that person around and measure all these things and pick up a lot of new sites that we didn't have data for. And that just helps in the regulation process and knowing.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that the county's investment is well spent in that regard. And do you know what that number is right now that? And has it been, that's a consistent number? We haven't changed that. You haven't asked for a different number in the recent past?
It's 5,301.
It's one fee. I can tell you in all the work I'm doing with water resources fee studies. That's one fee that hasn't been advocated to move up. So I'm grateful for that. But again, I think that this small investment that we're making, for the work that it does and your reporting is essential. And I appreciate that you now have more data available for you in making decisions for regulating. My guess is the horror stories from your peers out there and how they have to oversee, other water masters have to oversee regulatory process must be much tougher. So my sense is here in the Mid-Valley, you have a pretty good group of irrigators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mainly, it's not the irrigators that I have a hard time with. Like right now, the conflicts have nothing to do with irrigation, and it's been very difficult to try to explain the law and what needs to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, the irrigators, I feel like.
Do you have anything to do with start cards and new well work? Okay. Do you have any sense of what it looks like in your district? New starts for groundwater? Sorry to throw that little technical one in there, but it's also part of what I was just in a major meeting yesterday over fees and funding for transfers and but also start cards and new wells. And there's a much bigger burden coming for fee payers. And the state has, as I'm sure you know, pulled back on, the agency is pulling back on what it's asking for general fund increases. And your salary's gone up, all of your coworkers' salaries have gone up. A lot of that burden is being borne by fee payers. And the state, the agency's been told $1 million is all you get to increase, which is less than 1.5% of their continuing service level. And then told, but customer service is your priority. So that's a little stunning, isn't it? Customer service is your priority, but 1.5% is all you get to grow your budget. So if you need more than that, you'll go get it from the people directly. So I had to plug that in because we're on the record. Sorry, Joel. But thank you for what you did. Yeah. Well, I mean, Joel's the soldier. He's the guy on the ground. I mean, he's the one that keeps us safe from people that, like, again, when we started out with this, with these illegal marijuana grows, and these folks are coming in, they're still dribbling in some, but they just take what they want. And again, it's been frustrating that you don't have many tools to be able to stop them. But those of us who do have land and have some access to irrigation and so forth, we want to protect that and keep others from stealing it. And so we need your help. So, and you've been terrific. Yeah.
Question for you, Joel. In terms of regulations over time, have you seen any changes in sort of length of time during the year that these are being enforced, or sort of how deep you need to go into water rights? Or has it been pretty static over time here? Yeah.
You mean like when I started regulation?
Yeah. Any changes? Yeah.
I mean, 2015 was the one-off where.
Yeah.
I mean, it was July and Rickon Creek was dry.
Right.
Like, oh no, this is not good.
That was an outlier.
Yeah, that year was just terrible, but and we've had other winters that go dry, but then we get rains. So predicting what's gonna happen is just impossible.
Okay, let's hope this is one of them. It's not looking good right now.
It's just like you get the rain and you see what happens. And because you have so many irrigators, you have crop rotation, you never know who's gonna be watering what.
Right.
Who might come in September because it's been dry and run a gun once over their field. And so there's just way too many variables. And so we just kind of focus on measuring and then also ahead of time knowing who's doing what. Sure. You know, and get a feel for, like, we have a map that I have color coded for junior and senior.
Mhm.
And so we drive around and try to see like who has what and, you know, what can potentially get done. Because I need to know that in order to know how much to cut.
Yeah.
'Cause let's say we didn't have the water, we make the first cut, but nobody, you know, all but one person in that first cut's irrigated. It's like, well, yeah, it doesn't keep you any better.
Right.
You know, now you gotta go deeper right from the get-go. So I'm still learning.
Yeah.
You know, it's still, every year's a little different. and
Yeah.
learn more about this.
Thanks again for being so proactive and communicative with landowners. It's great.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you so much for your update. All right. Do we have any non-listed items?
No, sir.
No. Okay. All right, we are adjourned.